The RMS Titanic was more than just a ship. She was a promise, a marvel of human ambition and ingenuity, destined to make history before she even touched the water. A floating symbol of a new era, she captured the imagination of millions across the globe. In 1912, technology seemed unstoppable, and Titanic was its crowning achievement, a testament to the Industrial Revolution's boldest dreams. Built by the White Star Line, she was the largest moving object ever made, designed for luxury and safety, dwarfing every ship that came before her. People called her unsinkable, a belief that reflected the confidence and optimism of the age, echoed in headlines and dinner conversations alike. On April 10, 1912, crowds gathered in Southampton to witness her maiden voyage, their faces filled with hope and excitement. Passengers from all walks of life boarded, wealthy aristocrats in first class, hopeful immigrants in third, all chasing dreams of a new world or a new beginning. Titanic was a microcosm of Edwardian society, gliding across the Atlantic as a floating palace, where luxury and hardship traveled side by side. She boasted 16 watertight compartments, the basis for her supposed invincibility, a feat of engineering that inspired awe and reassurance. The ship's interiors were opulent, grand staircases that sparkled under crystal chandeliers, pools, Turkish baths, and the latest technology, offering comforts that rivaled the finest hotels on land. But this dream was built on hubris, a belief that nature could be tamed and disaster engineered away. The belief in her unsinkability bred complacency. There were only enough lifeboats for half on board, a risk few dared to question. Regulations hadn't kept up with the scale of new liners, and the focus was on the ship as the ultimate lifeboat, not on true preparedness. No one truly imagined abandoning her at sea, so strong was the faith in progress and human achievement. This overconfidence in technology set the stage for a tragedy that would shatter the world's illusions and change maritime history forever. Titanic's story would become a cautionary tale for generations, a reminder of the limits of human pride. The world watched in awe, unaware of the disaster looming ahead as the great ship sailed into legend. The legend was born, but its legacy would be written in loss, echoing through history as a symbol of both human achievement and tragic folly. The night of April 14, 1912 was clear and bitterly cold. A haunting silence hung over the North Atlantic, broken only by the gentle hum of Titanic's engines and the distant sound of waves lapping against her hull. The sea was eerily calm, making icebergs nearly invisible. Without waves breaking at their base, the looming icebergs blended into the darkness, hiding their deadly presence from even the sharpest eyes. At 11:40 p.m., lookout Frederick Fleet spotted a dark mass ahead. An iceberg. He rang the warning bell and telephoned the bridge, but precious seconds had already slipped away. Despite quick action, Titanic couldn't turn in time. The ship's immense size and speed made her slow to respond, and the iceberg loomed ever closer. The iceberg didn't rip a single gash, instead it buckled steel plates, opening a series of fatal wounds below the waterline. The damage stretched across 5 compartments, a design flaw that would prove catastrophic. Water flooded 6 compartments, too many for survival. The ship's watertight bulkheads were not high enough to contain the rising sea, and the bow began to dip lower. Designer Thomas Andrews confirmed the worst. Titanic was doomed, with only hours to live. He quietly informed the captain and officers, urging them to prepare for evacuation. Many passengers didn't grasp the danger, reluctant to leave the warmth of the ship for freezing lifeboats. Some believed Titanic was unsinkable, while others waited for further instructions, unaware of the urgency. The evacuation was chaotic, the crew was unprepared, and lifeboats launched half-empty. Lifeboat drills had been neglected, and confusion spread as officers struggled to enforce the women and children first rule. Confusion reigned, protocols were inconsistently enforced, families separated. In the panic, loved ones lost sight of each other, and the sense of order quickly unraveled. As the bow sank, the deck steepened, lights flickered, and the orchestra played on. The haunting music offered a final comfort as chaos and fear gripped the ship. The ship broke in two, the stern rising before slipping beneath the waves at 2:20 a.m. The once mighty liner vanished into the black depths, leaving only silence behind. Over 1,500 people were left in the freezing water, awaiting rescue that would come too late. The icy Atlantic claimed lives within minutes as hypothermia set in. The Carpathia arrived hours later, but for most, there was no hope. Survivors huddled in lifeboats watching the dawn break over a sea of tragedy. Titanic's sinking was a slow-motion catastrophe, exposing the fatal flaws in design and preparedness. The world would soon demand answers, and changes to maritime safety would follow. The world awoke to the scale of the disaster, forever changed. News of the tragedy spread rapidly, shocking people across continents. The myth of the unsinkable ship was shattered. Titanic's story became a cautionary tale about hubris and the limits of technology. The tragedy would echo for generations. Families mourned and memorials were erected to honor those lost. Titanic's fate was sealed by a combination of nature, human error, and misplaced faith. The lessons learned would shape the future of sea travel. The legend was now a lesson written in loss, a reminder of the price paid when caution is cast aside. Before Titanic's legend captured the world, her older sister Olympic was already the pride of the White Star Line, representing the height of luxury and engineering in her era. Launched in 1910, Olympic was the first of her class, nearly identical to Titanic, but she quickly became beloved by travelers for her elegance, comfort, and reliability on the Atlantic crossing. She survived a major collision with HMS Hawke, an incident that tested her design and reinforced public belief in the safety and strength of these massive liners. When Titanic tragically sank, Olympic rushed to help, but the distance was too great for her to arrive in time to assist the stricken ship. The sight of Olympic near survivors was deliberately avoided, as officials feared her appearance might cause confusion or panic among those already traumatized. After the disaster, Olympic was thoroughly refitted with additional lifeboats and improved safety features, setting new standards for passenger protection at sea. During World War I, she served bravely as a troopship, surviving enemy attacks and even famously sinking a German submarine, earning respect from both crew and military alike. After the war, Olympic returned to civilian service, where she enjoyed a long, successful career as a luxury liner, carrying thousands of passengers across the Atlantic. She was finally retired in 1935, having outlasted both Titanic and Britannic, her two ill-fated sisters, and leaving behind a remarkable legacy. Olympic became affectionately known as Old Reliable, the fortunate survivor of a tragic trio, admired for her endurance and service. Her story is one of resilience, adaptation, and the ability to overcome adversity through innovation and determination. Unlike her sisters, she lived a full and eventful life, witnessing decades of change in maritime history. Olympic's enduring legacy stands as proof of what might have been, and a testament to the golden age of ocean liners. The third sister, Britannic, was launched in 1914, redesigned for safety after Titanic's loss. Her hull was stronger, bulkheads higher, and lifeboat systems improved. Intended as the safest, most luxurious liner, she never carried a paying passenger. World War I intervened. Britannic became a hospital ship. Her interiors were stripped for wards and operating rooms, painted with the colors of mercy. On November 21, 1916, she struck a German mine in the Aegean Sea. Open portholes allowed water to bypass bulkheads, and she sank in just 55 minutes. 30 lives were lost, most in lifeboats caught by the propellers. Britannic, the safest of the sisters, had the shortest life, a casualty of war. Her sacrifice was noble, but her promise was never fulfilled. The Olympic-class ships shared a blueprint, but met vastly different fates. Titanic's story is one of hubris, loss to overconfidence, and a fatal encounter with nature. Olympic, the survivor, proved resilient through war and peace, her long service a testament to luck and adaptation. Britannic, designed to be the safest, was claimed by war before her potential could be realized. Each ship's destiny was shaped by circumstance and human error. Titanic's loss exposed flaws in design and regulation. Olympic's survival showed what might have been. Britannic's end was a casualty of conflict, not design. Together, their stories form a tragic experiment in fate. The legacy of the trio is a powerful lesson in ambition, error, and the unpredictability of history. Titanic's sinking was a profound human tragedy, sending shockwaves across continents. Over 1,500 lives were lost, touching families from New York to Southampton. The disaster cut across class lines, but third-class passengers suffered most. Their dreams drowned with the ship. Survivors' stories were harrowing, haunted by loss and guilt. The tragedy left hundreds of widows and orphans, and communities mourned for years. Charitable funds were set up to aid the bereaved, especially among the crew's families. Britannic's loss, though smaller, was deeply felt by those who served aboard. These disasters were not just statistics, they were stories of loss, survival, and enduring sorrow. Titanic's loss was a financial catastrophe for the White Star Line and the insurance industry. The ship was heavily insured, but the payout shook financial markets and shattered the company's prestige. The disaster exposed corporate complacency and the prioritization of luxury over safety. Public outrage grew over the stark inequalities revealed by the tragedy. Third-class passengers suffered the highest losses. The sinking became a symbol of social injustice and fueled calls for reform. Britannic's wartime loss was also costly, depriving the war effort of a vital hospital ship. The destruction of two massive liners underscored the risks of unchecked ambition. The era of superliners came at a heavy price, financial, social, and human. And Titanic's sinking forced a revolution in maritime safety. International inquiries led to sweeping reforms, including the first SOLAS Convention in 1914. Ships were now required to carry enough lifeboats for all, and regular drills became mandatory. Wireless stations had to be manned 24/7, with distress calls taking priority. The International Ice Patrol was established to monitor iceberg dangers. These changes created a new culture of safety at sea. The lessons of Titanic and Britannic were paid for in lives, but they saved countless more. Maritime law was forever changed by their loss. The Olympic-class sisters are more than maritime history. They're an epic of ambition, tragedy, and change. Titanic's story became myth, a cautionary tale of hubris and heroism. The disasters forced a global reckoning with safety and social inequality. The reforms that followed made sea travel safer for all. The wrecks of Titanic and Britannic are now solemn memorials and archaeological sites. Olympic's long life stands as a testament to resilience. Together, their stories form a powerful saga of the 20th century. The echoes of their fate still resonate today.